This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
Welcome back to episode number 32 of To the Front. Now, let me throw out a phrase to you, and you've probably heard it, but I'm going to say it again because I think it's really important for the topic that I want to talk about today, and it's this. If you win them by price, you're going to lose them by price. I'm going to say it again. If you win customers and you win business by price, you're going to lose them by price. In other words, if you're in a game of commodity with whatever you're selling, whether it's insurance or heck, food or whatever it is, right? If what you put forward is my prices are better, then you have to understand that you're probably going to lose it when somebody else comes and says my prices are lower than yours. And especially in the world of insurance, where it is understood widely to be a commodity. In other words, you can get it anywhere. And in a world of commodity, what happens? Well, people just kind of choose to gravitate towards what's cheapest. But do they have to? Does that have to be the narrative? Today on To the Front, we're going to talk about how to decommoditize insurance because I believe, and my friend George, who I'm bringing on, also believes that the insurance world can be decommoditized and it doesn't always have to be about price. In fact, you can offer something way better. And so just like I said, to bring on, talk about this, it's my friend George Elosice from Iowa. George, welcome again to the podcast.
Glad to be here. I don't usually get invited back places, so this is pretty big for me.
Dude, yeah, you were so good the first time. I had to bring you back, George. This is George's second time on To the Front. He was on an episode called When the Good Gets Better and is Heading Towards Best, and we talked about the story of how George came into a captive agent who was already a very good agent,
right?
But then installed some systems and procedures to help elevate them to a top 10 agency in the country in their company. Just absolutely phenomenal. And so we had George on, but in our conversations, George, and in our conversations since, you've always mentioned this idea is that one of my goals is to help decommoditize the insurance agency. And so you're already doing that. You're specifically doing that with your platform, Trainwell, which we talked about a little bit last time. We're going to talk about on this podcast as well, because if you're an agent listening and you have not checked out Trainwell, you are missing it. In fact, I shared, George, I've got one of my business partners, Jason. He is like super, not critical, but he's very hard to impress. He's very, very hard to impress. And the first time he loaded up Trainwell, he said, Adam, this is different. This is really, really good. And his team adopted it, and they've been crushing it ever since. So I was like, all right, man, if you're good enough for my buddy Jason, you're good enough for me. George Elosice from Iowa, back on the show. George, how was the intro, buddy?
Pretty good. I'll take that one. I'll try. Hopefully, I can fit through the doors when I walk out of here. So
I like it. The head, George. Also, you just launched a podcast as well, right? You're a few episodes in.
Yep.
Tell us about that podcast.
Well.
What's it called?
Yeah, Trained Well. And basically, I get people in the insurance industry that touch the insurance industry, other insurance agents, and we talk about basically what they do to train, how they improve their team, what they instill in their team, and basically, because everybody's good at something, right? So basically, how'd you train your team to get there? And that's what we cover on that. And
I love it.
Hiring, training, you name it. So
yeah, for sure. He's already had some big hitters on there. It's got better production value than we have on this show, so you need to go check it out. I'm sure they can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube,
everywhere. Yeah, everywhere you can listen to podcasts, you'll find it.
Bam, check it out. Okay, but George, let's hop into the topic today because, again, this podcast is tools for tomorrow's top agents.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer that if you are going to cut through the noise, you need to adopt this concept, this belief that you can decommoditize the industry.
Yep.
And I'm going to even say it's probably doubly, triply important to accept this concept and to do what you can because of AI coming. And
Yeah.
anything that is a commodity, I believe AI is going to take over. And so now what happens is that you've got to figure out how to offer something different. That's the decommoditizing insurance. Okay, so let's talk about that topic. George, you've brought it up. Tell me, for our listeners, though, that are like, Adam, I don't understand you. Let me hear it from George. What does it mean to decommoditize something?
Yeah. I mean, whenever I'm thinking about like breaking down that definition, I always just start with like, what is a commodity, right?
Mhm.
So a commodity might be gold. It might be, I'm in Iowa, so it might be corn, soybeans, you name it. But basically, it's when there's like an agreed market price for something, right? An ounce of gold here is the same as an ounce of gold at the next gold dealer in another country, you name it. Same for corn, soybeans, right? Yeah, there's like really like little differentiators depending on maybe where the gold came from, where the corn came from. But at the end of the day, it's a commodity. There's an agreed
Yeah.
trade price. And what a lot of people in the insurance industry try to do is commoditize insurance. And everybody's very proud of like their agency and what they do until it's time to show someone the rate. And then they just kind of fall in the same bucket as everybody else. We're like, ah, well,
Yeah.
maybe we can save you money. Right.
Yeah,
So you
sure.
just take all that and you throw it out the window when you're hoping to save someone money. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time. Well, I can save you money. Like that is the final sales pitch. I'll save you
Yep.
money. But when you talk about decommoditizing, what we're doing is we're talking about building on something better and bigger than price, right? So,
Right.
so I guess if I had to ask you, tell me what the problem is about offering your services in a commodity atmosphere. I mean, like if you treat what you're selling as a commodity, tell me the problems that come up with that. Obviously, I've already said some, but tell me
Yeah.
what are the problems that you see?
Yeah, I mean, you're inviting yourself to be compared, right? You're inviting the
Yeah.
problem, you're inviting those objections to say, "Hey, compare me to everybody else." Or like when someone says, "Oh, we're very competitive." Well, they either have to trust you wholly, which like 3% of people trust salespeople. So they either have to trust everything you're saying, or they have to shop you to know if you're competitive or not. Right. So,
Right.
like something that our team is not allowed to say, right? We're not allowed to bring it back to price. We're not allowed to say, "Hey, we're super competitive." Right. We might say, "Hey, maybe we'll save you some money in the beginning." Um, but at the core, we're not going to say, "Hey, we're competitive. Hey, but I bet we can save you money," because, and like really lean on that, especially towards the end of the sale, because we don't have control of the price,
Yeah.
right? And there's like the old saying, right? Control what you can control. Well, I know, like I can say that, but like, what does it really mean, right? And that's
Right.
where like decommoditizing, like you really, the last thing you got to deal with is the price. You do not want to even let that enter the conversation the way most companies want to market it. So,
For sure. And like when I watch TV advertisements, they're all based on price.
right.
They're all based on price, especially some of these people that are trying to take over the insurance world. It's all about saving you money. But I think it's actually built off a misconception. And tell me if you think I'm on the right track here. The misconception is this is that people's greatest the thing that people value the most in their life is saving money and stretching a dollar. And I actually believe that's an incorrect way to view people and what they value because uh, I don't think everybody's walking around just trying to figure out how to pinch a penny. But what we do is we start to assume that what people really value is cheaper.
Right.
Um, do you see that as well? That sometimes a salesperson or a company will walk in thinking that the person's highest value is saving money. Do you see
For
that quite a
sure.
bit?
For sure. And I mean, I have like this might upset some people, but like I think a lot of salespeople think that and think people care about price because now they have an excuse. Well, they were a price person. They were shopping price, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's like the ultimate excuse to just kind of throw up your hands and move on. But at the end of the day, I like honestly believe, and let's see if you agree with this or not, but I believe that nobody is shopping for price, but that everybody's shopping for a deal.
Wow. Unpack that a little
Right.
bit. What does that mean?
Right. So a deal might look a little different person to person, right? So some clients might care more about having the relationship. Some people might care more about the quality of conversation and the information they can get from you. Other people might sell out their mom to save $2 a month on insurance, right? That
Yeah.
might be, but every person in their head, right? They might think it's about saving money, but really they want to get the most bang for their buck, right? They want a deal, right? Costco wouldn't exist if
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't right. You're paying more money. More money got spent, right? You didn't actually save. Like per unit, it's better, right? But you actually spent more money.
Right. But look, I got 4 bottles of ketchup.
Right, you got 4 yeah, you'll never run out of
Go through that
ketchup,
much
right?
ketchup. Yeah. But
Right?
fine, I got a deal.
You gotta do and whatever as long as the person feels good about it, right? But
Right.
the biggest thing is people are looking for a deal, and it might look a little different person to person, that's where your fact finding comes in, but you wanna make the person feel like at the end of the conversation, they got a deal out of it. They got the most for the money they spent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. And so the idea of you win them by price, you lose them by price starts to sort of get wiped away by saying if you can help the person to walk away feeling good about what they purchased, price almost starts to not matter as long as they walk away feeling that. Now, if as you can't help but to see, especially I'm in the insurance world in terms of a service provider, not to the customer but to the insurance agent, that AI is starting to really take over, like, let's just say the PNC world. All
yep,
right. And, sites like Lemonade or whatever, where
yep,
you can go on there, you can instantly get a quote. It can instantly be bound or whatever. And you never have to talk to a person. So they're going to shoot out a price. And uh, what I've seen is that these sites don't really care about the person understanding what they're getting. They're simply just selling on price.
right.
Like, hey, I'll get you covered. You're going to be legal. Here's the price. But what you find out, and I actually watched on Trainwell one of your sort of interviews, sort of role play deals, is what do you find that happens when somebody's just buying coverage just to get covered, and then say your office now brings their policies in? What do you see often that a person's missing when they're buying online versus when they work with a person?
I mean, 90 to 95% of the time, they can't tell you what their coverages mean.
Yeah.
90% of the time, they don't have enough coverage. They don't even know where to start. And they don't have enough coverage on their vehicles. They don't have enough coverage for them personally. Like they care a lot about having full coverage, but then if they pass away, there's nothing going to their family, right? They care more about
Mhm.
making sure their car gets fixed. So that's sort of where we come in. But at the end of the day, too, like when you like look at everything grand scheme of things, 10% of the prospects you talk to are going to buy no matter what. Like whatever you bring up, they're just going to buy 10% of the time.
Yeah.
20% of the people that you talk to are never going to buy from you, and the other 70% just need help making a decision. So like all those internet companies are like banking on that 10% that'll just blindly buy.
Yeah.
But that's where the agent comes in. It's for the other 70%.
Yeah. Wow. So really these companies, these internet companies are just playing a numbers game.
They're playing a numbers game.
It's a
Their
full
churn is
commodity,
high.
full numbers game.
They're just trying to get in front of as many people as possible. They just know, hey, we can probably get 10%. So
Right. And so we look at them and we're like, what are you doing? But the reality is I see captive agents in your company, not your personal company, but the
sure,
broader company, doing the exact same thing.
sure,
They're just trying to get a bunch of numbers and to get them in as fast as possible. Yet they're worried about lapse can,
right,
and their people really don't understand what they're buying. But your thought is, let's decommoditize this.
right,
Let's not make it about price, which then I guess means it's got to be about relationship. So
right.
talk a little bit about how specifically in your office that you have helped turn the thought process and sales patterns of your team. So kind of tell me, what have you done to start helping your team to adopt a different sales model so that it can be decommoditized?
Yeah. So when I first started in insurance in Iowa, and for anyone out there that's like, in the Midwest, remembers like 2016, 2017, 2018, it was very rough to do business in Iowa. And I remember first year at the agency I work at now, if it was like, if we can break even on cars this year, basically like not be negative, like everybody gets Christmas Eve off, right?
Wow.
Like that's
Yeah.
how rough it was. Like you were a king if you could write 15 cars on your own, because every time you'd quote the auto, you'd be 30-40 bucks a month more. You'd quote the home, you'd be way more. Now, was it a way better product? 100%. Like, it was for sure. What we're selling is one of the best insurance you can get for home or car. And so basically, where things started kind of changing with how I looked at it, because if it was going to come down to price, I wasn't going to sell anything. And I have this thing where I like eating 3 times a day. I've got to like pay mortgages and stuff like that. So I knew that wasn't an option to just kind of like hope for a lower rate, because it wasn't going to happen. So then my father-in-law, an agent, showed me. He was like, "Hey, once you get past like similar liability limits, right? Or you look at, the way we're covering the home, or you get past the liability limits, and maybe they have state minimums like 50,000 in liability, and it's $50. Well, we can get someone a lot more coverage for, maybe we can get them $1 million of coverage and they pay $100 a month, $50 more. But that's 20 times more coverage. You can get them more bang for your buck." So he's like, that's how we were gonna sell this, right? Otherwise, you don't have a chance. So that's like where it all started, where basically every time we talk to someone, we've got to make sure and do like a real needs analysis on liability.
Yeah.
And where we've taken things a lot further with our sales team now in the last few years is we've decided that every time we have a conversation with someone, we're going to cover liability need, wherever they live, whatever that need looks like, their life insurance need, actually calculate out all the things in their life that'd be affected by them passing away, right? Their mortgage, their income, their kids' college, funeral. We're going to make sure to cover that. We're going to cover their disability need, right? If they get sick or hurt, what they have at work probably isn't going to cut. It might only be half. So we're going to cover that need as well. So it's always liability, where they live, life, and disability every single conversation.
Yeah.
And then what happens is when we make our presentation, they came in looking for car insurance, ready to compare auto, but my offer is auto, home, leaving your family millionaires, replacing the other half of your income if you get sick or hurt, right? Replacing all of your income.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot harder for them to compare side by side.
Can't do it. And I would also assume that when you're in front of that customer, there's no way they're going to say, "Oh, I don't care about my family," or "I don't care about
Right.
being taken care of if I get disabled," right? Of course they care about that.
Exactly.
Of course they. It sounds like to me, and again, I've watched your sort of role play conversation with this. It seems like step number one, almost, with decommoditizing insurance, is to sort of slow the transaction down a little bit. Don't be so quick to give them the auto quote, because you're missing the entire conversation. Is that an accurate sort of simplification? Slow down the conversation.
Well, I mean, you want to get to the rate as soon as possible, but you definitely don't want to get to a number until you've figured out the need.
Yeah.
Right? If you get to a number without the need, that's when it's one, there's not a lot of trust from the prospect. They're not as invested in it. They don't know if it is right for them, so they should probably shop it around and get other opinions. But if you focus on the need first and you take everything they said and turn it into a solution, well, now it's nearly impossible to shop. Now it's hard for them to go, "No, let's take off the $30 and then I'll just figure it out if I get sick or hurt."
Yeah, sure. It's hard for them to say no.
Hard for them to say no.
So I would assume you're not doing a lot of quoting by text message, are you?
Text message and email are great tools to get people on the phone.
Okay. That's what I was going to say, that because
right?
you can't have a whole conversation through text.
Yeah.
Right. But I will tell you, I know team members who will work like lead list, and they'll just text like, "Hey, I've got your information and I'll only text you back if I can save you money."
Right.
And you would say that is not a good strategy.
Not at all.
Not at all, because they're missing the whole conversation. So, so you're saying that almost every person that calls in that you guys are working with, unless you already have other lines of business, you're trying to have the full value conversation.
Every time. It's a non-negotiable. And
It's
even in
huge.
our office, if you don't have the whole conversation and you close something, you're not getting paid on it.
Wow. So
That's how serious we are about it.
that's a standard in your office.
That's a
So
standard.
if you just sell them an auto, you're not getting paid your commission because you didn't have the whole conversation.
Nope.
That's fantastic. So you've got accountability. When we're talking
Right.
about decommoditizing, you're saying, hey, listen, we're so serious about this that you're not going to get paid unless you have the full deal.
Right. I mean, if they're not having the whole conversation, if they're not making the attempt, that one's a free one for the agency. Like, that person's not getting paid on it.
Now that's putting your money where your mouth is. It is, right? Agents, if you're serious about making a pivot and you quit selling on price, start selling on value, start selling on a deal. Well, that sounds pretty smart to say, well, hey, team members, we're bringing you along on this. And this is not a, would you pretty please have the conversation, right? Because I talk to agents all the time and they're like, I've begged my team and I've please sell financial services and please, but I look at their bonuses and they're still paying their team outrageous commissions
Right.
on auto and home.
Right.
And they're like, well, I'm asking them. But this is a different thing. It says, no, we value having the whole conversation so much that you will not get paid on that which the thing that was easier to sell
Right.
versus the thing that we really feel like is going to bring value to the customer.
Right. Well, and if you think about like the compounding effects of that, right? So like, the liability conversation was always really fundamental, and our agency's been around for 23 years, but last few years where we're even focusing more on adding the financial services to the conversation up front. If nearly every conversation you're hitting all lines, and now you're starting to write financial services, even if it's a fourth of the time on every single raw new household. Well, what kind of book of clientele are you building if they came to you based on your recommendations, if they paid more to be with you, if they paid and accepted your advice? What kind of book is that you're building versus the people that you just wrote the car, saved them some money, and moved on?
That's right.
Because if everybody's buying from us because they're accepting and paying more, well, guess what else? When we meet with them next time and find something, what are the odds they're going to buy even more?
High.
Right? We're creating a captive audience of people that, one, never got that service, but two, now expect, like, yeah, someone should be going through all this with me. Like, I don't know how I've gone this long without someone doing this.
Yeah. Do you find that pretty often when you have a conversation with someone, they say, you know what, I've never had this conversation with somebody?
Nearly like every call, it's like, why are you asking me that? I've never been asked that, right? And we'll just say, I'm sorry no one's ever asked you that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, they should have, because if they can go after all of this, right, cause an accident, wouldn't you want that covered?
Yeah.
Right.
And the problem is that they may initially see you as the weirdo. Why are you asking me this? This is invasive. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
When the reality is, no, it's everyone else who served you in the past probably doesn't really care as much about your whole protecting your whole family
Right.
and everything about you. They just want the app. They just want the quick sell. I read a book a few years ago. If you've ever heard of it, it's really a social media book called Tribes.
Never heard of
And
it.
the idea behind Tribes is that, and this was back when, numbers and likes and follows and the retweets and stuff like that was so important to every brand. And this book comes in and says, I think that's the wrong approach. They said, what really grows brands isn't big social media numbers. What really grows brands is a group, and it could be small, of really dedicated followers, really dedicated, really sold out followers. That's what builds brands, right? Because they will be your mouthpiece to the world. So I think the same is true. What you had just talked about is that if you're slowing down, having the full conversation with somebody, really protecting them, they become part of your tribe. They become the kind of customer who tells other people about you.
Right.
Versus the customer who you had a 5-minute interaction with, you wrote their car and they never talked to you. So they have no reason to refer you to anybody.
Right.
Versus having the full conversation, the person feels fully heard. They walk away fully protected. I promise you, they are going to go and tell somebody else, right? And the cool thing is that you might not work in these big, massive numbers, but it starts to grow and to swell. Your production does, because you're going to lose less, and every transaction is going to be worth more.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
And, there's going to be people out there that don't want to talk about all that stuff with you, right? They just started the auto quote. And when you like look at someone brand new in our office, going through that process, they might have a lower success rate than me. Like it's rare that I'm going to get on the phone with someone and not hit the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Right. It just takes practice. But the other thing that sort of gives me peace of mind is the fact that we're also kind of weeding out those customers that we're probably going to leave right away, that don't care, that we're going to just be problems. We're just kind of weeding them out. We're just creating a book of the people that want to work with us. And it's averaging out to like 600 policies a month. So I guess we'll live losing a little bit of business and landing on 600,
I don't think there's a captive agent I know that wouldn't take that number. Okay, so let me ask you that though. You get somebody on the phone and you're doing everything right, but they are just so adamant. No, I just want car insurance. You just how do you deal with that person? How do you? I mean, I'm sure you still quote them and stuff like that, but
Yep.
how do you set it up to where you can maybe come back to the conversation later?
Yeah. So if it's really just not happening, right? We're always gonna, whenever it's like a pivot and we're talking about liability or we're talking about life insurance, talking about disability, we're always going to give it like 2 to 3 tries before we like totally just kind of go back to just talking about the vehicle. But then what we do is, and what we found is, once we do write that car, maybe we will single line in auto. It's rare, right? So if someone single lines a car around here, their legs start to shake a little bit. But if it does happen,
Yeah.
right after something happens to the person, right after you get that credit card, right after they give it to you and they see that email like, hey, we just charged money, it's like a relief. And then in that midst of relief, we bring it back up again.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that thing holding you back? And
Wow.
it's called the second sale phenomenon, right? It's been talked about lots of places. It works great on, if you think of the largest websites where you buy stuff, right? Like any Shopify website, Amazon, right? As you're buying something or right after you buy something, they recommend another thing to buy.
Yeah.
Well, they don't do that because
Welcome.
it loses them money,
That's right.
And so we try to do that too. We just copy what's working, right? And we get them over the hump. We get the money, we get the credit card, and we go, hey, what was holding you back? Why wouldn't you at least like talk about the life insurance? Right?
Interesting.
It's a lot easier for them to talk then because now they're a client, right? They've paid, they've exchanged some money, and you just use that momentum into the next thing you're going to talk to them
The
about.
next thing. Yeah, and I love the way you phrase that. Hey, what was holding you back? That to me, that sounds like a friend's talking to me.
Right.
Versus, hey, sure, you don't want to talk about that life insurance? Let me tell you about all these great things. That feels salesy to me.
Sure.
But what doesn't feel salesy is when somebody that you already trust with some money says, hey, what was holding you back? What was it that made you pause on that? I love that. I absolutely love it.
Well, the mental framework that we use, and I always train everybody on, is when you're selling or advising, whatever you want to call it, a lot of the time, and physically you might be across the table from them, but a lot of the time, whether it's physically across from you, you're on the phone, you're on a virtual call, you think about it as you versus them, right? And you're like, how do I like win this exchange almost?
Sure.
But the way that we think about it is we're thinking about it like, hey, we're on the same side of the table. Down at the end is the finish line. I'm going to help you get there.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different thing.
Dude, back in my pastor days, I used to use that illustration. Like I used to do marriage counseling, which is hilarious. Okay. I'm still married. Okay. I've been married for 20 years. I would say happily. Ask my wife. Let's see if she says the same thing.
Right.
But I would do a lot of premarital counseling, and I would use that same concept. I would say anytime there's a disagreement between you and your spouse, it's like you got something sitting on a table and you're sitting on opposite sides. And the best strategy is to get on the same side of the table with your spouse and be on the same team. And then when you feel like you're on the same team, you can deal with whatever's in front of you.
Right.
It's just when you feel like you're against each other, it feels like the challenges are insurmountable. So you're doing the same thing in insurance. Hey, you
Exactly.
know what? You're my customer, and you and I are both really concerned and really motivated by making sure your family's covered.
Right.
Right. And so you kind of get on the same. I love that illustration, man. You get on the same side of the table, and it stops being me versus you, and it's us. And then we go forward. And so I'm sure you guys have just long lasting relationships in your agency
Right.
because of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me ask. So I'm an agent. I'm listening to this podcast. Again, we have the majority of our listeners are on Spotify. But so they may not be seeing us, but I'm an agent. I'm listening to this. I'm saying to myself, if I truly look at how my team sells, we might have some fancy things in place, but if I really boiled it down, we're really still just selling on price.
Yep.
And we're really just trying to play the numbers game, right?
Yep.
But I'm listening to George today, and I'm listening to Adam, and I want to change how my team sells. Right? How does Trainwell? Let's talk about Trainwell. How does Trainwell come alongside and help a team do that? Right? So, because I have seen Trainwell being implemented in agencies, and it's literally changing the agency. In fact, I heard a story. I was actually in the agency a few weeks ago, and a guy they'd joined with Trainwell a few weeks prior, and he's selling. And he got the guy to spend like, I don't know, it was like 75 or 100 or $150 more per month than the old company. And the guy was like thanking him for it. Like, man, thank you so much. And and I didn't know what I didn't have until until now. And this guy's now just committed over $2,000 more a month. Well, almost $2,000 more a year, excuse me, than the company before. So Trainwell works. So tell us about that. How does Trainwell come alongside agencies and help to sort of reprogram their sales team members' minds? And maybe I'm not using the right wording, so correct me.
No, you're good. You're good. But I mean, what there's a lot of, and this is also, I think of Trainwell as like the meta example of decommoditizing. But because the Trainwell itself should feel different, right? If I'm going to sell it, it should be hard to compare.
Yeah.
And when I was developing Trainwell, what I saw with a lot of trainings is it's, hey, here's the training, whatever it is, the live calls, the modules, here's a subscription, go for it.
Yeah.
Right. So I did not want that. I did not want to be compared. I don't want to say, hey, we got a competitive platform, So what I thought through is like, if I was to take myself out of the equation completely and like let someone just kind of plug into something on their own, no matter who they are, new experience, what would they need to know, and what order would they need to know it in to see success? Right.
Yeah.
And that's even where it's like, I have a guarantee where it's like, if you follow it in this order and you do even the pieces of the process and it doesn't work in 2 months, you get your money back. Like, that's how
Wow.
serious I am about the process.
Yeah.
So where everybody starts is what I call the core path. It's 12 modules, takes less than 10 hours. And the first like 4 modules, maybe really you could even argue the first 5 modules are all working on the brain. We're working on how you think about price, the beliefs that are holding you back, all those little excuses that you tell yourself that kind of shut down your sale before it ever happens is just the first 5 modules, right? And the first 5 will only take, a couple hours to get through, right? We get to the sales stuff after that. But the reason being is, if I lay down a script, lay down a process in front of someone, but they think that they can't talk about life insurance if they don't have a spouse, they think that everybody only cares about price. Well, that's like a harder thing to work on. So the first thing I'm working on with people is just getting past that. Then we're getting into, how are we calculating the need? Life need, disability need, supplemental health need, you name it, right? How are we going to find the need in the conversation and also do it without breaking, having the whole conversation be done within 20 minutes? Where it's like scripted, word for word, greeting to close, everything you have to say. Because those are the two biggest things that I always work on with people first, their beliefs and then the sales process. Then we get into the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, what should we be tracking? What should we pay attention to? How do we handle objections? The last module is objections, believe
Wow.
it or not, because when I'm working with people on objections, odds are the objections they're getting, one, are coming up because of the way their process, the way they got there. But then second of all, they don't know what to say to them because they didn't collect enough information about the person beforehand.
Sure.
Right? If you get an objection, you don't know what to say. Well, it's probably because we didn't do a good job beforehand. And
Yeah.
then the way we maintain that is weekly training and monthly master classes. But then you're thinking, okay, well, I've done trainings that do all that. Well, then there's the in between, which is the AI component of it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have team members.
This is so cool, by the way.
We'll have team members mid-sale, right? Maybe someone has state minimums, and we're recommending, $1 million of liability coverage with an umbrella, home, life insurance, disability, and they're like, how the heck do I how do I present to this person all this? They came in for one thing, they've got 4 quotes. They can go to, funny enough, AI George is what it's called. They can put the situation in and it'll tell them what to say in the way that I would say it. Because it's been totally custom built. It's custom model just for what we're doing as agency members. It'll help them get through the sale. Or maybe the person's stuck on paying more. Hey, they're stuck on paying more, but we got more coverage. How do I respond to that? You plug it in, it'll spit it out in seconds, how to sort of manage the conversation.
Wow. So I'm in the middle of a conversation. I've got sort of a tricky situation. I'm listening to the customer. I can type in to, if I'm a member of Trainwell, I can type into AI George, hey,
Yep.
this is what I'm dealing with. How should I approach it? Boom. And all of a sudden it's popped up.
Yep.
And I can now work off that script.
Exactly. And if
Wow.
it's taking a second for you to type it in, you just blame a loading screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, hey, hang tight 1 second for me, and there's lots of ways to sort of tee that up. Okay. So, and this is why we love Trainwell so much here at Front Runner, is because it's not because and again, we have great relationships with other coaches and platforms and stuff like that. But what does make Trainwell different is Trainwell gives you everything. It doesn't hold little things back, right? It gives you everything. It says, okay, we're going to train your mind, and then we're going to help you with the actual sales techniques and understanding the whole thing. And then we're going to talk about objections. And by the way, we're going to give you all the scripts, right? We're gonna help you. You can almost just say exactly this, and then we're going to give you this amazing AI tool to help mid conversation, along with the mastery classes, the check-ins, that kind of thing. That's what makes Trainwell so different. And I will tell you again, we see a lot of platforms, and this one stands out.
I appreciate that.
I'm not saying just because you're on the call, right? This one, again, mostly because my super critical friend believes in it. And anything he believes in typically is a really good thing, because it's changing the office culture. And it really is helping this decommoditize insurance. And if your agency is going to go forward, it's going to grow in the future, and you're going to fight against the AI sites and the AI sales process that will come up, you got to get really good at helping people to see value and to really build on relationship, right? And Trainwell, I'm a big believer that Trainwell can help you do that. And agents all over the country are starting to join this platform, and they have been for about the last year or so, something like that.
I mean, what I'm proud of is it's the first insurance platform that's powered by AI. Is the first one, right? And now we're going on 2 years of this AI being trained on agents and team members asking questions.
Huge. So it's getting smarter.
It's getting smarter.
It's getting smart, which is just insane. It's insane. Okay, so tell me what it costs and how somebody gets started with you.
Yeah, starts at $297 a month. It's month to month, and you can get set up on my website, or if you still need more info, when you go on my website, trainwell.co, you can click a button. We can hop on a call. I don't know if it's right for you, but we'll find out once we go through it on the call.
That's right. I would have a hard time believing it's not right for you, but I get why you might say that. But yeah, it's on the screen there. It's trainwell.co. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that's just trainwell.co, not .com, trainwell.co. You can also find George on Facebook. Go check out his podcast on YouTube and Spotify. But really, we're big believers here in this tool at FrontRunner, and you really need to go check it out. Trainwell.co. We're seeing it change agencies all over, all over the U.S. And by the way, we're not paid to say this. We just believe in this platform. So, all right, George, I know you're a busy guy here. You're running the Trainwell company. You are still in agency. Helping your agent be a top 10, heck, a top 5 agent. And so I know you're a busy guy, but any final words on this idea of decommoditizing insurance, or any final words on Trainwell?
Yeah. The root of everything that the sales process and that we're thinking about is that every price ever that you come across is made up. Every single one was made by someone about something. Well, you could say, oh, well, there's all these statistics that go into come up with, insurance rates. Yeah, for sure. But they're paying for it's based on the cost of fixing vehicles or repairing homes or medical payments, right? But all those prices were made up, right? It's just this layers of made up prices. So you just have to decide, are you going to let your life be ruled by a bunch of made up prices?
Wow. That's a fantastic day. George might be one of the smartest dudes I know. So that's true.
You got to get out more. You got to get.
If I think about like even my print shops that I own, right? I mean, yeah, sure. Some of our models on how we price your business cards or T-shirts or whatever they're all based on something, but essentially they are kind of made up. Just, it's basically, we have a idea, charge as much as you can and still get the business.
Right.
And my assumption is that's probably how most people's pricing philosophy is: charge as much as you can and still get the business. And when we decommoditize it, we even flip that script and we say, charge what it's going to charge. Well, number one, you don't have control of the rates, right? But rather than position the conversation about price, position it on value, offering them a deal, build it on relationship, and you're going to have a customer for life. You'll probably build some tribes around your agency. So.
And with Trainwell, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm just asking you to use the platform, follow the system, and if it doesn't work for you in 2 months, you don't see a 25% bump in production in 2 months, I'll just give you back your money.
Wow, and that's true. He's a man. I don't know of anybody else doing that. That's true. You follow the process. You do the onboarding. If you don't see a 25% increase,
money back. You win or you don't pay.
Yeah, huge. George, thanks so much for coming on again, man. Really appreciate you. All right. Hey, that's going to be it for episode number 32 of To the Front. Powerful episode. Seriously, really powerful. In fact, I believe it might be one of the most important conversations that I've had so far on this podcast, is that if you want to see your agency grow and go to the front and survive what I believe is going to be a dramatic shift in the insurance industry, you will start taking seriously the idea of decommoditizing what you're selling. Quit selling on price, man. You sell on price, you're going to lose them by price. Offer value, offer relationship. And the reality is they're just going to pay to be in relationship with you. They're going to stop paying for the product and they're going to just start paying to be your customer. And that is the sweet spot. Hey, until episode 33, take care. Go lead your agency with courage. Go lead your agency for something bigger than yourself that will outlast even your life. That's the goal. Take care, everybody.